Hi, I'm Scott Flowers with Cloud Ninjas. Today we're here to talk about Gigabyte R183-Z94-AAV1. Let's get going. Hey, thanks for stopping by today to learn a little bit more about the Gigabyte R183-Z94-AAV1. Do us a favor, if you find anything that helps you in this video, click that like and smash that subscribe. All right, well, let's hop in. This video is going to be specifically dedicated to this beautiful server here, and what we're going to do is just a general hardware overview. We're going to go over the CPUs, the RAM, the drives, the network cards, the RAID. We're going to talk about the supported operating systems and even the power supplies. So let's get into the good stuff. So I always like to start with the CPUs. So this is a Dual Socket SP5 is the socket type, which means it is an AMD 9004, which is the Genoa series, or 9005, which is the Turin series. And yes, the Turin series is supported. However, you do need to make sure you have an updated BIOS, and not all the Turins are supported. The bulk of them are, but if you have a 500 watt TDP Turin, which the last two of the series are, those are not supported. They're just too hot and too much power. So again, the bulk of the Turins are supported, just not the heavy power usage ones that are 500 watts. So, all right, let's get into all the really good stuff. So again, Dual Socket SP5. It's going to be your AMD Genoas and your Turins. And if you know me, I love the AMD Genoas and Turins. That's the top of the line right now. The Turins in particular are just came out and are just now readily becoming available, and are still actually very hard to get some of the chassis that support them right now. But if you are looking for some chassis, do please email us at sales@cloudninjas.com. We'd love to help you out and do a custom build for you. People ask all the time, hey, what CPUs do you recommend? And really, this is going to depend on your application, right? So we like to break it down into three different categories: our low end, our value, and our high end. Now, the low end sometimes can be almost as expensive as the high end right now because some of the speeds on the low end procs are the low end because of the cores, but the speeds make them actually cost just as much or even more than some of the high ends that we have listed here. But again, we still like to break it down, and we kind of break it down by the cores, but it depends what you want. If you want the faster speeds, if you want the higher cores, I personally, big fan on the Genoa side of the 9274Fs and the 9474Fs because I want the speed. Or on the Turin side, the 9275F or the 9475F. These are some of my personal favorites, but again, hey, it's up to you. What do you like? There's a bunch of great CPUs in the series, and if you have a fan favorite, drop a comment down below. All right, let's talk about memory. It takes DDR5 memory. There's going to be 24 DIMM slots inside, which means 12 DIMM slots per CPU, which is pretty nice because that means there's only one DIMM per channel, which helps with not clocking the memory down too much, which will happen depending on if you're using single rank or dual rank, which is a whole other story. But let's talk about what sizes are supported. Well, you can support as low as a 16 gig, a 32 gig, a 48 gig, a 64 gig, a 96 gig, or all the way up to 128 gigabytes per DIMM, which means with 24 DIMM slots, that's 3 terabytes of RAM. So yes, 3 terabytes of RAM is going to be the max you can put in, which is, again, pretty incredible when you think about, because back in the day, if you put in 64 gigabytes, that was like, man, this is awesome, right? So 3 terabytes of RAM is pretty incredible. The speeds you can put in is going to be 4,800. Technically, you can put in the 5600 or even the 6000, but they're just going to clock down, so there's no real point or sense unless for some reason you're getting a better deal on 5600, then hey, let it rip. But 4800 is going to be the max speed. And one last important thing to note that I almost missed is what type of RAM can you use? Well, this is ECC Registered. When you get into DDR5 world, load reduced is gone. Goodbye RDIMM. So ECC Registered is going to be your real choice when you get to the big boy systems. There's still some of the ECC unbuffered and non-ECC when you go like to some of the desktops or workstations, but those are not going to be what we're talking about. We're talking about the big boy epic procs. So you're looking at ECC Registered DDR5. All right, let's talk about storage. There are 12 small form factor or 2.5-inch drives in the front. They are tri-mode, which means you can put NVMe, SAS, or SATA. Do note with SAS, you do need to have a RAID controller, or a hardware RAID controller, I should say. There are a number of different types of drives that you can use. You can use, well, really 4 according to Gigabyte spec sheet, but 5 probably realistically, but that's going to be a SATA solid-state drive, a SAS solid-state drive, a NVMe solid-state drive or a SATA hard drive. Now, realistically, you could probably use a SAS 2.5-inch hard drive, and again, would have to have a RAID controller. It's not on the spec sheet, and we didn't have time to play with it because it's not as important nowadays, and we would definitely recommend going solid-state over hard drive, but let's compare them. So for a SATA solid-state drive, you're going to have 6 gigabit per second, you're going to have 24 for SAS, and you're going to have 32 for NVMe. And you wonder, how did we get to the 32? Well, that is because it is Gen 5. So these are Gen 5 ports. Now, if you put in a Gen 4 NVMe drive, that's going to be 16 gigabit per second will be the max. So, those are going to be your speeds. And I did want to note, if you're thinking about, okay, well, I did put in a Gen 4 drive and that's 16, would a SAS at 24 be better? No, it is not. Don't let the numbers fool you. The read and write performance is going to be much better for your NVMe drive, and it's going to have lower latency, so we would still highly recommend NVMe. And right now, NVMe is actually cheaper than SAS or SATA, so not only is it better performing, it is a better price, so that is definitely the way we would recommend going. Now let's talk about the hard drive. It's 7.2K revolution per minute. Yep, that is a mechanical device. It is spinning around and around and around, so the ball bearings are going to wear out over time and they will die. At least it's a SATA hard drive as opposed to a SAS, which is going 10 to 15K revolution per minute and will definitely wear out sooner. But a SATA hard drive is kind of just an old school drive that has been around for a very, very long time. So let's talk about the capacity. So it's 7.68 terabyte for the SATA solid-state drive. It's going to be 30.72 for the SAS. It's going to be 61.44 for the NVMe, and then it's going to be 2 terabytes according to Gigabyte spec sheet for the SATA hard drive, but we put in a 4 terabyte, so a whopping 4 terabytes, right? So really, the winner as a whole is going to be NVMe for scalability, NVMe for speed, and NVMe for price, so that is definitely the way we recommend. All right, let's not forget about our good old friend M.2. There are 3 M.2 slots inside, which is actually pretty attractive when you think about it, but they're only Gen 3, so that part's not as sexy, but there are 3 M.2 slots inside, which is still very helpful for boot drives, but again, it's only Gen 3, which is one of the downfalls. But I shouldn't forget, they are 2280 or 22110, so also important to note, you can put either size or length, I should say, of your M.2, so either one of them will work if you have a 2280 or a 22110. All right, last but not least, let's throw up a little fun fact chart for SAS4 for all those who are interested. All right, up next, let's talk about RAID. Now, with RAID, you can use your onboard software RAID, or you can use hardware RAID. Now, with hardware RAID, there is a number of different options. You have Broadcom, which is very prevalent. A lot of people on the market like Broadcom, and again, you can use that for SATA, SAS, or the Broadcom Mega RAIDs for NVMe, which are very popular. But let me throw out another option that you might like even more, and which I like a lot more personally, is Grade. Grade, we are an authorized dealer for, and Grade is essentially a solution where they have taken an NVIDIA GPU and they've packaged it with the Grade software, and this is, in my opinion, the best NVMe RAID solution that's out there right now, and it will go all the way up to 32 drives for certain storage. Obviously, there's not 32 drives you can put in here, but for certain storage solutions, if you're looking for just a crazy, awesome controller that can take care of a mass amount of NVMe drives, Grade is by far the winner. Still, in my opinion, for something like this, if you only wanted to put 4 or 8 of them in and still do a RAID with NVMe, Grade is, in my opinion, the winner, but it depends on your application, once again, and it depends on your budget. All right, let's get into the PCIe slots, and then we'll really hop into the network cards, because you kind of need to know a little bit more about the PCIe slots before you hop into the network cards. So in the back, there are going to be 2 PCIe slots. They're going to be for full height, half length, which is just another way of saying high profile. They are going to be PCIe 5.0 by 16, which is very nice. So if you wanted to throw in one of the converters to switch it into an M.2 or even a U.2 or U.3, you can do that. So let's just say you wanted to put in a Crucial T705, which is very popular right now for the Gen 5s because the write speed is out of control awesome. You can take something like that, put it into something like one of those Sabrents or a number of different other converters, and pop it into the PCIe slot and get the Gen 5 speed. So that is an option. Or you can throw in a network card, right? There's one PCIe slot that's controlled by CPU 0, and another, or the second one is controlled by CPU 1. I hate that they call it CPU 0 and CPU 1. If you ever hear my videos, I always say that CPU 0 should be called CPU 1 and CPU 1 should be called CPU 2, but that's just me. But anyhow, so each one of the CPUs controls one of the PCIe slots and controls one of the OCP slots, which brings us to there are 2 OCP 3.0 slots. They're also Gen 5 by 16, and once again, one of them is controlled by CPU 0 and one of them is controlled by CPU 1. Also important to note, there are 2 1 gigabit RJ45 ports built into the motherboard. Low speed, but still very helpful to have them built into the motherboard. All right, so let's get into network cards as a whole. So again, you have the 2 PCIe slots and you have the 2 OCP 3.0 slots. So if you wanted to throw in 4 network cards, hey, you can do it. You can throw them into each of the PCIe slots and each of the OCP 3.0 slots. So you could technically put in 4 of them if you so desired. Now, what interfaces are accepted? Well, you have RJ45, which is just another way of saying Ethernet. That's what most people use at home and is very prevalent and very common. You have SFP, SFP+, SFP28. You have QSFP+, QSFP28, QSFP56, QSFP 112, OSFP, fiber channel. I mean, the amount of interfaces you can use is kind of insane. There's a ton of options. Well, what about speeds? Well, you can use 1, 10, 25, 40, 100, 200, 400. You can go all the way up to 400. Wow, that's insane. Or for fiber channel, 8, 16, 32. Those are your speeds. Now let's not forget about our good old friend, the power supplies. There are 2 hot swap redundant power supplies. They are 1600 watt, 80 plus titanium. They're going to be 100 to 200 volt. Pretty simple, but that's what you're going to have for power supplies. Now, we might be system integrators and we might focus on the hardware, but we understand how important the software is. So let's talk about the supported operating system. So of course, we're going to start with Windows just because Windows is still very popular, even though I'm a big Linux fan myself. But for Windows, you're going to have the old 2019, 2022, and even though it doesn't show it on Gigabyte's website yet, 2025 is supported. I'm sure it'll be up soon enough, but 2025 is supported. Now, you're going to have a bunch of different Linux as well. You're going to have Ubuntu, you're going to have Red Hat, you're going to have Dora. There's a bunch of different Linuxes that are available that you can use, and if there's one that we didn't list or we didn't put up on our chart, hey, do us a favor, drop a comment down below. Well, hey, if you made it this far, do us a favor. Click that like and smash that subscribe. And if you're looking for any custom built servers, whether that's Gigabyte, now Giga Computing, Supermicro, HPE, Dell, Asus, ASRock, Lenovo, we would sure love the opportunity to earn your data center or your home lab's business. Please email us at sales@cloudninja.com. That's sales@cloudninja.com. And we'd love to show you our pricing, our service, and our quick response time. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Take care.